Comments and statements made within the show are the opinions of the commentators and their guests and have not been evaluated by the FDA and are in no way an attempt to diagnose, treat, mitigate, cure, or prevent any disease or illness. The contents of the show are not to be construed as medical advice. If you have a health condition or health concern, please contact a licensed qualified healthcare practitioner.
Welcome back to Herbal Answers with Nan, where we explore the intersection between traditional wisdom, herbal wisdom, and modern science in natural health. I'm your host, Nan, of course, and today we're diving into one of the most exciting developments in weight management, natural GLP-1 enhancers. Yes, I said natural. Absolutely. So now you've probably heard about the injectable weight loss medications that have taken the world by storm. These drugs work by mimicking a hormone called GLP-1, which stands for glucagon-like peptide 1. And today, I'm going to explore with you how nature provides us with powerful alternatives that work through the same pathways, but with a gentler, more sustainable approach. Now, I want to be clear right from the start. Many people have had life-changing success with pharmaceutical GLP-1 medications. However, others have experienced challenging side effects. They struggle with the cost or can't afford it at all, or are looking for more natural alternatives. And that's what we're exploring today. Safe, clinically studied, natural options that can support your weight management journey. Pretty exciting, huh? So before we dive into the natural solutions, let's understand what GLP-1 is and why it's so important for weight management. GLP-1 is a hormone produced by special cells in your intestines called L cells. L for lady. Not really for lady, but they're called L cells. And when you eat, these cells release GLP-1, which is a hormone, and that then travels through your bloodstream and performs several, not one, but several crucial functions. First, GLP-1 slows down how quickly food leaves your stomach, helping you to feel fuller for longer. Second, it tells your pancreas to release insulin appropriately in response to meals. Not too much, not too little. And third, this is key for weight management, it communicates with your brain's appetite control center, reducing hunger and those persistent food cravings that many, many people struggle with. So the pharmaceutical industry has developed synthetic versions of GLP-1 that stay active in the body much longer than our natural hormone. That's why you take an injection once a week. While effective, these medications can cause side effects, including nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, and in some cases, more serious issues like pancreatitis or gallbladder issues can occur. They're also expensive, often costing between $500 to $1,000 per month. That's what I said. If you don't have insurance coverage. So some people do, but it's fewer now than when they first hit the market. And what's particularly concerning is what happens when people stop taking these medications. Studies show that most people regain much of the weight they lost, with one study showing an average regain of 2/3 of the lost weight within a year of stopping. As well, I think what's important to discuss is much of the research that's published in the Journal of American Medical Association that was published on this subject matter in 2021 and 2023. We're not going to go too deeply into it, but we are going to mention it again because it's really important to understand that once you get on them, you should stay on them. Of course, if your physician has prescribed them, then you listen to your physician. But if your choice is not to stay on it and there's no medical reason for staying on it, you just are concerned about gaining weight and you want to lose weight and you struggle with it, there's something else. So this brings us to an important question. Can we stimulate our body's own GLP-1 production naturally? And the answer is, and backed by substantial research, resoundingly yes. Instead of overwhelming the system with synthetic hormones, we can work with our body's existing pathways to enhance natural GLP-1 production. This approach has several advantages. First, it maintains the body's natural feedback mechanisms. Second, it typically comes with fewer side effects. Almost none. And third, it's more affordable and accessible. Oh, there's one more. It often provides additional health benefits beyond weight management. That's pretty great. You're going to learn all about that too. So let's start. Let me tell you about a fascinating discovery from New Zealand that's changing how we think about appetite control. In 2010, the New Zealand government invested $20 million in research to develop a natural plant-based solution for weight management. Scientists of plant and food research hypothesized that bitter taste receptors might exist in the gut, not just in the mouth. They were right. That's right. We have taste receptors in our small intestine. And through extensive research involving over 300 biopsy samples and testing more than 1,000 plant extracts, they discovered something remarkable. An extract from a specific variety of New England bitter hops, which they named Amoracate, was the most potent natural activator of these gut-based bitter taste receptors. And these receptors are called TAS2RS. So here's how it works. And this is truly fascinating. When you take Calocarb, which contains Amoracate, it's delivered in a delayed release capsule that opens up in your small intestine. There, it stimulates those TAS2R receptors on your enteroendocrine cells. And according to research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2022 by Walker and colleagues, this stimulation causes 3 cells to release GLP-1 at 6 times the baseline. That's pretty great, right? That's twice the normal post-meal release. And it doesn't stop there. The same mechanism also triggers the release of other important satiety hormones like CCK and PYY. Together, these hormones work synergistically to reduce appetite, slow gastric emptying, and decrease food cravings. Yay, right? The clinical evidence for Amoracate is impressive. So let me walk you through a few key studies. In the first clinical trial with 20 healthy men published by Walker and team, participants who took Amoracate 1 hour before a meal consumed 18% fewer calories at that meal compared to placebo. You just have to remember to take it 20 minutes before your meal. Their blood tests showed dramatically elevated GLP-1 levels, confirming the mechanism of action of Amoracate. The second study focused on hunger during fasting. 30 healthy men underwent a 24-hour water-only fast. Those taking Amoracate experienced an 80% reduction in increased hunger, which translates to a 25% reduction in overall hunger daily. These effects lasted throughout the entire 8-hour monitoring period. The third trial, published in Obesity Pillars in 2024, studied women and added measurements of food cravings. Yay, finally, a study for women. The results were even more impressive. Women experienced a 100% reduction in the change in hunger and a 120% reduction in the change in food cravings over the last 8 hours of fasting. This translated to a 30% reduction in overall hunger and a 40% reduction in food cravings. Most importantly, when these women were offered an unlimited meal after fasting, those taking the high dose of Amoracate ate 14.3% fewer calories than those on the low dose, which ate 8.1% fewer calories compared to placebo. So even the low dose had a really good effect. The high dose had an extraordinary effect. This shows that appetite control translates into real-world eating behavior through natural substances. Isn't that exciting? So one fascinating aspect that Calocarb users report is the quieting of what's now being called food noise. Those persistent, intrusive thoughts about food that can dominate our mental space. And according to a 2024 survey, 57% of people experienced food noise. And it's particularly challenging for those struggling with weight management. This quieting effect is one of the most celebrated benefits of pharmaceutical GLP-1 drugs, and it's encouraging to see that natural alternatives can provide similar relief. Users report being able to focus on other aspects of their lives without the constant mental chatter about their next meal or snack. And you know what that feels like. If you know what that feels like, you know how hard that is. It's demoralizing for some people, right? Okay. So now let's turn our attention to a remarkable discovery in the world of gut health. Akkermansia municiphalia. This beneficial bacteria, which makes up about 3 to 5% of the gut microbiome in healthy individuals, has emerged as a powerful player in metabolic health and weight management. Akkermansia is what we call a keystone species in your gut. It's the same in the world, right? Honeybees are keystone species. So Akkermansia is as well. It has a unique ability to break down the mucus layer in your intestines. Don't worry, this is actually beneficial. As it does this, it produces short-chain fatty acids like acetate and propionate, which they've been shown to have profound effects on metabolism. And importantly, for our discussion today about GLP-1 production, your own body's production. Research published in Nature Microbiology in 2021 by Yoon and colleagues made a groundbreaking discovery. Akkermansia municiphilia actually secretes a protein called P9 that directly induces GLP-1 production. This isn't just about the bacteria's metabolites. The bacteria itself produces a GLP-1 inducing protein. So in early mouse studies, daily administration of this P9 protein led to significant weight loss, reduced glucose intolerance. That's important, right? For any of you who are also pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetes, of course, and increased expression of GLP-1 producing genes in the intestines. The mice also showed increased thermogenesis. Basically, they burned more calories just sitting around at rest. But what about human studies? A 2025 study published in Nutrients by Aruka and colleagues at Vijay USA Corporation tested Akkermansia municiphilia extracts on human cell lines. They found that these extracts increased GLP-1 secretion by over 2,000% and at the highest concentration tested, comparable to glutamine, which is a well-known GLP-1 stimulator. Glutamine is an amino acid, and a lot of people take glutamine because it's also healthy for the mucosal membrane production in your GI tract. So the human clinical evidence for Akkermansia is equally impressive. In a proof of concept study published in Nature Medicine in 2019 by Depomier and colleagues, overweight and obese volunteers were given either pasteurized Akkermansia municiphilia or placebo for 3 months. The results were remarkable. Those taking Akkermansia showed improved insulin sensitivity, reduced blood insulin levels, and decreased body weight. They also had reduced markers of inflammation and liver dysfunction. Importantly, the pasteurized form was more effective than live bacteria, suggesting that the beneficial proteins and compounds from the Akkermansia remain active even after the bacteria itself is no longer alive. What makes Akkermansia particularly interesting is that it works through multiple pathways. First, it strengthens the intestinal barrier, reducing what's called metabolic endotoxemia, also known as leaky gut, the leakage of bacterial toxins into the bloodstream that drives inflammation and insulin resistance. Second, the short-chain fatty acid it produces not only stimulates GLP-1, but also serves as an energy source for colon cells, and it promotes regulatory T cell differentiation, suppresses inflammation by inhibiting certain enzymes called histone deacetylases. Third, it appears to activate brown adipose tissue, increasing the body's ability to burn calories for heat rather than storing them as fat. Fourth, research suggests it may influence the bile acid pool, which has its own effects on GLP-1 secretion and metabolic health. Isn't that all amazing? 4 distinctly different, promising aspects to Akkermansia as a pro and prebiotic. So now you might be wondering how to increase your Akkermansia levels. Interestingly, certain dietary compounds can promote its growth. Polyphenols from foods like pomegranates, green tea, and berries have been shown to increase your own Akkermansia abundance. The diabetes medication metformin also increases Akkermansia levels, which is very interesting, and it may partly explain its beneficial metabolic effects. Akkermansia supplements are now becoming available, typically in pasteurized form. The research suggests doses of around 10 billion CFU daily, though optimal dosing is still being established. Okay, that's beneficial bacteria. So let's move on to a beautiful plant called saffron, derived from the Crocus sativus flower. It's been treasured for centuries, not just as a culinary spice, but as a powerful medicinal herb. What's fascinating is that traditional medicine systems have long recognized its appetite-suppressing properties. In traditional Persian medicine, texts like Avicenna's Canon of Medicine, and in traditional Chinese medicine, saffron has been prescribed as an anti-obesity remedy for over, ready, 1,000 years. Saffron contains several bioactive compounds, more than 5 actually, that contribute to its weight management effects. The main ones are crocin and quercetin, which are carotenoids, and they're responsible for saffron's beautiful golden color. And also there's one called saffronal, and that's the compound that gives saffron its distinctive aroma. In 2022, a study was published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology by Jafari and colleagues, and it investigated how these compounds affect fat cell development. They found that saffron extract, crocin and quercetin, significantly inhibited the differentiation of human adipose-derived stem cells into fat cells. So at the molecular level, saffron reduced key proteins involved in fat storage, Okay, that also includes PPARG, FAS, and GAPDH, which, if you know what that is, great, good for you. And if you don't, just understand that these are um, parts of the mechanisms of cells that go into basically storage of fat in your adipose tissue. Okay, so when you reduce these proteins, you stop storing food as fat and you have a tendency more to burn your food as energy. So thus you have more energy and less fat storage. The human clinical trials with saffron are particularly compelling. They're some of my favorite in the herbal compendium. With saffron, it's just kind of hitting its drive, I think. There was a landmark study by Gout and colleagues published in Nutrition Research in 2010. 60 healthy but mildly overweight women were given either a saffron extract called satiety, containing 176.5 milligrams of saffron, or placebo for 8 weeks. So that's 2 months. The results were striking. Women taking saffron experienced significant weight loss compared to placebo. And here's what's really interesting. The mean snacking frequency was significantly reduced in the saffron group. These women reported feeling less compelled to snack between meals, suggesting saffron was affecting their appetite regulation and potentially their food noise. And for those people who were really trying to include intermittent fasting, it made their goals for intermittent fasting so much easier. Another clinical trial by Akhondzadeh and colleagues in 2020, published in the Journal of Clinical Pharmacy and Therapeutics, looked specifically at women with mild to moderate depression who were also overweight. After 8 weeks of saffron supplementation, participants showed not only improved mood, but also reduced food cravings and better weight management. Okay, this brings us to a unique aspect of saffron. Its dual action on mood and appetite. We know that emotional eating and stress-related weight gain are major challenges for so many people. Saffron addresses both sides of this equation. How exciting is that? Multiple studies have shown saffron to be as effective as certain antidepressant medications for mild to moderate depression, but without the weight gain that often accompanies those types of drugs. In fact, saffron tends to promote weight loss while improving mood. A very winning combination, wouldn't you say? The mechanism appears to improve serotonin modulation. Saffron compounds inhibit serotonin reuptake, similar to SSRI antidepressants, but they also appear to influence dopamine and norepinephrine. This broad spectrum effect on neurotransmitters may explain why saffron users report both improved mood and reduced food cravings. Saffron's benefits extend beyond just weight and appetite. Studies have shown it improves insulin sensitivity, which means your cells receive your insulin better, and your insulin's carrying the glucose to make your cells produce ATP. Thus, you have more energy. It reduces blood glucose levels and improves lipid profiles. It's a potent antioxidant, with some studies showing it has stronger antioxidant activity than many other common spices. In animal studies, saffron extract has been shown to increase GLP-1 levels, though the extract exact mechanism is still being researched. It may work through multiple pathways, directly stimulating those L cells again in your intestines. Cool, huh? Improving gut health, modulating inflammation. Or it could also work through its effects on the nervous system directly. The clinical studies typically use doses of 30 to 176.5 milligrams of standardized saffron extract daily, usually dividing into 2 doses. So 15 and 15, 75, 75. Usually a divided dose is better, I find. Some studies use specific extracts like satriol or Saffron, which are standardized for certain bioactive compounds. It's worth noting that saffron is one of the world's most expensive spices, so quality matters. That's very, very, very important. Look for standardized extracts from reputable sources. If you don't know who they are, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to tell you. The good news is that even at therapeutic doses, saffron supplements are still much more affordable than prescription weight loss medications. And that's the part that's really hopeful here. And I want to briefly mention a few other natural compounds that have shown promise for supporting GLP-1 in weight management. Berberine has gained attention as nature's Ozempic, with studies showing modest weight loss, about 4 to 5 pounds, and weight circumference reduction. It works by activating AMPK, improving insulin sensitivity, and it may stimulate some GLP-1 production. However, I should note that in my clinical practice, I haven't found berberine to be particularly effective for appetite control compared to saffron and calocarb and akkermansia. Those three other items have been so effective in my practice that berberine doesn't even hold a candle to them. So although there's a lot of excitement around it, it really doesn't, in my practice, doesn't really show up in the way that it's been marketed. And it seems to work better for blood sugar management than for reducing hunger or food noise. And that in that way, it is true. And it can be paired up with other herbs that are better at managing and balancing appetite. Resistant starches, such as beta-glucan and other prebiotic fibers, feed beneficial gut bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids. These compounds stimulate GLP-1 release from intestinal L cells. Adding more fiber-rich foods or supplements can support your body's natural GLP-1 production. And EGCG from green tea has been shown to increase GLP-1 levels while also improving insulin sensitivity and enhancing fat oxidation. It's a gentle addition to a comprehensive weight management protocol. Okay, if you're beginning your weight management journey and you want to try natural approaches first, or secondly, here's what I recommend. You can start with calocarb. The trick with calocarb, though, is that you have to have it 20 to 30 minutes before you eat. You follow a titration schedule. So days 1 and 2, take 1 capsule an hour before a meal. Days 3 and 4, take 1 capsule twice daily before meals. And from days 5 onwards, take 2 capsules twice a day, always an hour before your meals on an empty stomach. This gradual increase helps minimize any digestive adjustment, which are very few. Okay. You can add saffron extract after that, 30 to 88 milligrams twice daily, preferably in the morning and the afternoon. This can help with both mood and appetite regulation. It is extraordinary. I can't even tell you, if people text me and say, I don't believe the saffron thing that you gave me is so great. My mood is great, and I'm not eating nearly as much as I was. So it's pretty clinically, it performs clinically in almost all respondents. So it's exciting. And then after you add the saffron to the calocarb, consider adding Akkermansia supplementation, typically 10 billion CFU daily of pasteurized Akkermansia municiphilia. Also focus on foods that promote Akkermansia growth: pomegranates, green tea, berries, and other polyphenol-rich foods. And if you're not familiar with stacking these herbs, please reach out to me anytime. I would be very happy to assist you with a targeted natural plan. And if you're currently on injectable GLP-1 medications and you're thinking about transitioning to natural alternatives, perhaps due to side effects or cost or personal preference, work with your healthcare provider on a gradual transition plan. If it's your healthcare provider who put you on your GLP-1s, it's probably best you stay there. But if you're someone who electively decided to do GLP-1 and now you're wondering, how do I get off this? I'd be happy to walk you through this if your current provider isn't familiar with the herbs or the natural supplements, or you're not. I'm very happy to help you with your goals. Research shows that stopping GLP-1 drugs abruptly often leads to rapid weight gain. A study in the Journal of American Medical Association showed that people regained 2/3 of lost weight within a year of stopping. However, by supporting your natural GLP-1 production during the transition, you may be able to maintain more of your progress. Consider starting the natural supplements 2 to 4 weeks before beginning to taper your medication, as long as you can tolerate them, and the nausea from your GLP-1 isn't, kind of putting a damper on taking anything in pill form. This allows the natural system to begin working before the pharmaceutical support is withdrawn. And remember, supplements work best as part of a comprehensive approach. We all know that. Protein intake, aim for 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. Protein is one of the strongest natural stimulators of GLP-1 release. Meal timing, consider time-restricted eating. Some research suggests that condensing your eating window can improve GLP-1 sensitivity. So for those of you who are doing intermittent fasting, you notice that already. Exercise, both aerobic and resistance exercise can improve GLP-1 response, though the acute effects are complex. And sleep. Okay, we've talked about sleep. Poor sleep disrupts GLP-1 and other appetite hormones. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is crucial. I know 9 hours, it seems like a lot, but honestly, the older you get, you need more sleep. If you're young, you need more sleep. If you're an adult, you won't get the sleep, but you at least need 7. Try to hit the 7-hour mark. It's crucial. Stress management. Chronic stress increases cortisol, which interferes with GLP-1 signaling and promotes weight gain. And while these natural approaches are generally very safe, there are some considerations. Calocarb may cause, in some people, mild digestive effects initially. So you might just feel like burpy, get a little burp, or you might feel that you have a little bloat. It goes away. A lot of people don't have this, but every once in a while someone will say, I burp when I take that. And that's why the titration schedule is important. So if you don't understand how you add calocarb in, then again, reach out to me. I'd be happy to walk you through it. It shouldn't be used by people with inflammatory bowel disease, colitis, or type 1 diabetes. Okay. Akkermansia supplements are generally well tolerated, but as with any probiotic, some people may experience temporary bloating, gas, sometimes change in their bowel habits because their gut microbiome is adjusting. So sometimes that's 24 hours, sometimes it's 1 to 3 days, but it usually is very mild and it goes away. Saffron is very safe, even at therapeutic doses, but extremely stupidly crazy high doses of more than 5 grams can be toxic. So can water at high doses, right? Taking too much water in a day you can really hurt yourself. I know it seems silly. We're like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? It's got to be just right. So stick to standardized extracts of saffron at recommended doses. Always consult with your healthcare provider, especially if you're on medications or have chronic health conditions. That's very important. If you're on other medications, you really need to speak to somebody who can do drug-herb interactions and know if it's safe for you to take those things. These natural approaches can affect blood sugar and may interact with certain medications. It may thin your blood if you're on blood thinners. So please make sure you do your due diligence and speak to somebody who knows. As we wrap up today's deep dive into natural GLP-1 enhancers, I want to leave you with some key takeaways. First, the science behind natural GLP-1 enhancement is robust and growing. These aren't just traditional remedies. They're backed by rigorous clinical research. Second, natural approaches work with your body's existing systems rather than overriding them. This generally means fewer side effects and more sustainable results. You can just keep doing it. You can keep taking your saffron. Third, the combination of different natural approaches, such as calocarb for immediate appetite control, akkermansia for gut health and metabolic improvement, and saffron for mood and cravings, can provide comprehensive support. And finally, remember that sustainable weight management is a journey, not a destination. Whether you choose pharmaceutical or natural approaches or a combination, the key is finding what works for your body, your lifestyle, and your long-term health goals. Thank you so much for joining me today on Herbal Answers with Nan. If you're interested in exploring these natural options further, please don't hesitate to reach out for a consultation. I'm here, not going anywhere. And until next time, I'm Nan, reminding you that nature always provides the gentlest, most balanced path to powerful healing and vibrant wellness.